So if you watched my last video, I hope you made some pretty good money on NVIDIA, because NVIDIA is doing pretty good right now, and I still think it's going to perform really well in 2026. But if you missed that opportunity, in today's video, I want to talk about another undervalued stock that I believe could be a really good investment for the foreseeable future. I'm going to break down why I'm investing in this stock, why this stock is currently undervalued, or why it's currently being down, and why I believe that it could go high in the foreseeable future. So I value your time. With that being said, let's get right into it. All right, so the stock that I'm talking about is called Uber. For those who don't know what Uber is, it's basically the biggest drive share company in the whole entire world. So essentially the business model is you get on their app, you ask somebody to come pick you up and take you to wherever destination that you're trying to go. But we look at this stock at the 3-month time frame. You guys can see that Uber is down over 18%. So that's a pretty significant drop for such a massive company. So let's talk about why is Uber down so much and what's causing the stock to be being down so much within that past 3-month time frame. All right, so there's two articles that I want to share with you, and I believe that these are the two main catalysts that's causing such a negative sentiment in Uber stock and why it's being down so much in the past 3 months. The first article is talking about Google's drive share business called Waymo. So whenever this article came out, it stated Uber shares fell 5.7% as competition from Waymo's autonomous ride hauling service grows. Waymo reporting over 1 million fully driverless rides monthly and plans for significant expansion. Waymo has achieved a 10-fold reduction in serious crashes compared to human drivers and plans to expand its service to 20 more cities by 2026, highlighting its rapid growth and environmental benefits. Uber is facing challenges in its transition to electric vehicles, having scrapped monthly EV bonuses for drivers and likely missing its 2030 EV adoption goals in North America and Europe. So Tesla's robotaxis without driver pay could offer rides far cheaper than Uber's current human driver model, creating pricing pressure. Tesla's vision for purpose-built self-driving taxis gives it a direct, scalable fleet, unlike Uber, which relies on third-party manufacturers or partners. If Tesla achieves scale, it could capture a large chunk of Uber's lucrative U.S. ride-hauling market, potentially impacting Uber's valuation. All right, so I hope that makes sense to y'all. So you guys can see the huge drop that we're seeing the past 3 months from Uber stock, right? The 18+% drop is primarily caused because of the fear that Google's drive share service, Waymo, and Tesla robotaxis could eventually take market share in Uber's business model, as you know, the drive sharing business model that Uber has. So anytime you have a company that has a dominant market share in whatever type of business model that it has, and some type of outside threat comes in and affects that market share that the company has, even though it's a small threat like Google and robotaxis, the market doesn't like that, right? Because it could affect future revenue expectations for that company that has a massive market share in whatever business model that it has. So that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And basically investors are expecting that Google and Waymo are going to take up a pretty good market share in Uber's drive share business model in the foreseeable future. But I think what people fail to realize is that Uber is a massive company that generates a lot of cash, right? And Uber could easily find a way to, integrate automated vehicles in its business model, right? Whether that's partnering with other companies that have that type of technology, right? And adding that type of technology to its fleet or to its network, right? Uber has the ability to adapt to whatever situation that it's trying to face, find a way to keep on, having that dominant market share that it has in the rideshare space, right? So I believe that Uber is going to find a way to also compete with Tesla and Waymo in the foreseeable future, just because it's a dominant company with a lot of cash, a lot of resources, right? And they're not going to let the business model just fail because of other, two new technologies, two new companies that are posing some type of threat to it. So that's one reason why I think that this is an overreaction. Uber stock will eventually recover, potentially in the foreseeable future. So the other two reasons why I believe that this is such a good opportunity is because of the technical analysis and the fundamental financials. So let's take a look at Uber's last earnings report and see what I'm talking about. All right, so let's take a look at a quick summary and highlight from the most recent earnings report, the Q3 2025 earnings report that came out November 4th. So revenue was $13.47 billion, up 20% year over year. Net income was $6.6 billion, up 154% year over year. EPS was $3.11, right? It beat the 0.67 estimate. Gross bookings was $49.7 billion, up 21% year over year. Adjusted EBITDA was $2.3 billion, up 33% year over year. And if we take a look at some of the other highlights, trip volume. So total trips grew 22% to 3.5 billion, one of the largest increases in company history. Monthly active users reached 189 million, up 17% year over year. Segment performances, mobility rides, revenue jumped 20% to 7.68 billion. Delivery Eats, revenue grew 29% to 4.48 billion. Freight remained flat at 1.3 billion. Advertising, now a 1 billion plus annual revenue stream, contributing high margin growth. So as you guys can see, Uber's fundamental financials are still really good. The company is basically telling us that they're seeing a lot of growth from a year-over-year perspective and expect to see more growth in the foreseeable future. So this drop that we're seeing right now is mainly because investors are scared of what the unknown could be, right? Whether Google or Tesla gains more market share in the rideshare space. But from the earnings report, right, Uber's telling us that the company is still strong, right? And they still expect to see a lot more growth. This is what I'm betting on, right? I'm betting on the fact that when Uber has the next earnings report, they could have a double beat and raise their guidance, which would make this drop that we're seeing right now not really make too much sense. Another reason why I'm so bullish in the stock and why I created a starter position at this point is because of the technical analysis. So let's take a look at it and see what I'm talking about. All right, so taking a look at Uber's chart, I'm currently on the 1 year, 1 day time frame. You guys can see that we're significantly down from that previous all-time high of almost $102, right? So the first reason why I started a starting position in Uber stock, obviously, is because we're down a significant amount, and I believe that Uber could potentially have a good earnings report that's coming out. Let's see, that's February 4th of 2026, right? They could have a double beat and raise their guidance, right? Which will kind of signify that this drop that we're seeing right now, right? The fear that Waymo and Tesla are going to gain market share in the drive share space, right? It doesn't really make any sense for Uber to drop this much, right? Another reason why I started a position in Uber is because of the RSI being oversold, right? This has been a pretty good indication for me for really good companies. Whenever they get oversold on the RSI, you typically see some type of bounce, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, but it tends to happen pretty frequently. So let me draw it out for y'all. You guys can see Uber was oversold on the RSI over here, right? See if I can draw that over here. And we had a pretty good bounce up, right? So this could have been a pretty good swing trade. Currently right now, we're oversold on the RSI. So I'm waiting to see some type of, pretty good bounce up, maybe to this resistance level up here. If we go back in the past, we kind of saw a similar trend, right? It was oversold or close to being oversold on the RSI over here. We had this massive run up. And it was oversold on the RSI or close to being oversold over here, and we had a massive run up. I'm not going to say that this is going to happen every single time, but it's been a pretty good indication when these type of companies, right, really fundamentally strong companies are oversold on the RSI from a 1 year time frame. Most of the time, if you give yourself enough time for things to play out, it will bounce back up, right, a significant higher from the point where it was oversold. So what I would like to see from Uber, right, currently right now, I bought some LEAP contracts, right, LEAP options expiring damn near in 2028. They expire sometime December 2027. But basically, I want to give myself enough time for this to play out. I hate trying to fight the market and time the market, right? Just because I believe that Uber is undervalued and that it could go up, it doesn't mean it's going to happen anytime soon, right? Uber stock could drop a lot more. It could go to $70, $60. I don't know how low it's going to drop, and I can't predict that. But what I'm basically betting on is that sometime in the foreseeable future, it's going to be significantly higher than where I'm buying in right now. So for me to buy another LEAP contract, right, because I'm comfortable with what I have, I want to see Uber retest the support level of around around $78, right, and kind of bounce off of it. If it does that, I'll have some type of confidence to know that this is a really strong support level and there's a lot of buyers at this level. And I'll probably buy one more LEAP contract, and which would put me at a total of about $6,000, which is what I'm comfortable with spending on this trade. So where I want to take my first profit is if Uber hits a strong resistance level of around $92, right? So we kind of saw it hit it back here, then had this massive drop. It hit it one more time, and I also had this massive drop, right? Another good resistance level may be around that $85 range. But since I have a lot of time for this to play out, right, I have all the way to the end of 2027. I want Uber to hit $92, and I'll take some profits on one of my plays. So like I said, guys, it's not worth trying to fight the market. This may take a lot of time for it to play out, right? Uber could kind of go sideways for a very long time, which is why it's so important to give yourself a lot of time for things to play out. A lot of traders, right, they want instant results. They want to put out a trade that expires in a couple of days, but you just don't know what the market's going to do, right? But when you give yourself time, you have a higher probability of being correct with your trade. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And just being patient and see how this plays out. If I'm completely wrong, that's completely fine, right? I'm making a bet based on my analysis. So I hope that made sense to y'all. And like I said in the video, I could be completely wrong, right? I'm simply just making a bet based on my analysis. And I believe that this is an asymmetrical bet, which is why I'm willing to make a bet on it right now. So make sure you do your own research and make sure that this makes sense to you. Let me know what you guys think about Uber stock or any other stocks that you're looking forward to getting into. I value your time. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.